So just to be clear, we are talking about cleaning the slate and finding our purpose. The purpose of me going through the discussion and sharing what I'm sharing with you is so we can understand the importance of simplifying life and simplifying things that come with that. It's important for us to understand that there is always going to be points of views. There's going to be different ways that people relate to different situations. And it's important for you to understand your values, your beliefs, your needs and wants. So you create the circle of safety. For your circle of safety to happen and for you to be clear about your needs, wants, beliefs and values, it's important to understand your triad of balance. The triad of balance is your health, wealth, and relationships. And for you to be able to understand your health, wealth, and relationships, it's very important to understand the circle of wellness. The circle of wellness, remember, is eat well, move well, sleep well. These three are the most important things I can share with you. It builds the foundation of who you are and where you want to go. I also shared with you two mantras, MMM, so move, meditate, massage, and I am, intend, act, manifest. The whole purpose of understanding the basics and the foundations is so as we move into depth or into detail of our course, we're going to try and let go of these theories, or like I call them, these boundaries. So we can move into a state of no boundaries. We can connect not to the boundary world, but we can connect to the superconscious state of being, the superconscious state of knowledge, of the ultimate information that exists out there. Let's move on. Today's topic is own yourself. This is probably the most important topic that we can take on board, putting all the foundations together. Owning yourself. Do what you do and do it with conviction and 100% ownership. Do it because you want to do it, not because research says it is, or because it's the new trend. Own it when you are in your zone. And how do you get into the zone? By eating well, moving well, sleeping well, having healthy relationships, a good amount of wealth, and good amount of health. Understanding your circle of safety, your needs, wants, values, beliefs. When you're in the zone, you get into the zone by eating well, moving well, and sleeping well. What I would like to do, and what I have done with you, is share the fundamentals and the realities, or the purpose of why you are doing what you are doing, the choices you make, the decisions you take. What is the reason you're working? What is the reason you're alive? What is the reason that you are breathing? It's because you want to be healthy and you want to be happy. So my question is, why then do we not put health and happiness at the forefront of our needs and wants? Forget the forefront. Why don't we put it in line with everything else that we do? These are some questions and some introspection to be aware of and go into. A simple question. Do you need animal protein? Do you need it to improve your immunity? The answer is there is no scientific evidence to say so. There is enough traditional evidence in the martial arts, in Ayurveda, in yoga, to state that animal protein is actually not good for you. And the reason being, First of all, the animals we get today are tortured. So my question is, whether it's an animal or a plant, would you eat a tortured being? Would you eat a being which is not happy and healthy? And if you do, then what exactly are you taking in? Are you taking in health? Are you taking in happiness? Or are you taking in the sadness from the animal or the plant? So let's go beyond a thought process of animal protein, vegetable protein. Let's go beyond that. Let's understand where the protein is coming from. Even if it's a plant, if it's not cared for, if it's not grown organically, if it's tossed from the farm straight into your supply truck, is it going to be happy? No, it's not. So rather than focusing on being a vegan, or rather than focusing on being a vegetarian, or rather than focusing on eating the right foods from animal protein, why don't we take our consciousness further? Why don't we become aware of love, peace, and harmony in every element of our lives? Whether it's a vegetable, whether it's an animal, if we treat it with love and respect and do what the ancients did, which is eat for our needs, not for our greeds, I am sure most suffering in this world will reduce. Another point, reason we get attracted to suffering elements is because that is the frequency we are relating to. We have become so accustomed to low frequency that that is our reality. That is where we live, and that is what we own. So when I am asking you to own yourself, I'm asking you to own yourself in peace, love, and harmony, in tune with the frequency of Mother Earth, in tune with the frequency of the universe. I'm not saying stop living the life you're living. I'm saying start living the life you are given. Start to live rather than exist, and try out different ways of living. Try out being a vegetarian, try out being a vegan, and then use what we don't usually use, our common sense, to find your answers. So you are empowered and you're living your story. You're living your story from your essence, not from intellect, from essence. And living from essence comes down to eating well, moving well, and sleeping well. So if you want to eat animal protein, eat it because you want to eat it. But don't eat it because you think you need it for protein, because of what the industry tells you. It's marketing and it's not science. For example, it's not what you eat, it's what you digest. So if you're going to eat 100 grams of protein from animals, you're going to digest or absorb or assimilate much less protein than what a plant would give you. So it balances out. Look at the Shaolin monks. And if you research the diet of a Shaolin monk, you will get your answers. Your animals eat vegetables, which are processed and stored in them, which in turn you eat. So in short, you are eating secondary protein and not primary protein. Secondly, look at the bigger and stronger animals. Most of them eat vegetables, and most of them chew and chew and chew. And they also eat their vegetables unwashed. So they do get a big serving of insects, bacteria that exist in and around it. A point to be made here, we can't compare ourselves to animals that eat plants. This was simply to give you an understanding or an example. But we can definitely compare ourselves or understand our teeth, our digestive systems, and based on that scientific evidence, we can come to a conclusion that we are not meant to eat animal protein. Let's go a step further. What if you focused on how you felt when you ate animal protein? You will get your answers from there. Of course, there is a time and place to eat and drink everything. For example, in Sweden, where I understand that in the winter time, they don't get access to plant protein or plants. So what they do is they use this concept of eating animals because animals have eaten plants and it's stored in them. In an environment-based scenario, you eat based on what you need, not out of greed. And in my conversations with some farmers in Sweden, they mentioned to me how they might kill an animal, but they do it because they absolutely need it. And the animal is on their farm, it's looked after. And there's a whole sequence of how the animal is taken from its life to be given life to somebody else. I myself am moving away from eating animal protein, and I find each day I feel better, lighter, and more humane. And that is the essence of who we are and what we should own. Based on all the above scientific data, which is our teeth, our digestive system, it's clear. And because all of you love scientific data, my question is, why not use this part of science to stop eating or try to understand the difference in animal protein and vegetarian protein? Why? Based on all the above scientific data, even though it's clear that we should not eat, why do we not follow the evidence? Why then do we follow evidence for things that are convenient for us? Why then do we make choices that are detrimental to us? This is a very interesting question and something to discuss and talk about. In my opinion, it's based on collective consciousness gone wrong. And the trend that moves through our beings that makes us believe in it, even though there is a part of our being that does not agree with it. This causes conflict, and this conflict is what makes us doubt our own instincts. There are many more examples where we doubt our instincts based on the current situation that we are in. We know we are strong enough to handle a virus. We know we can do it. But there are elements of media and news that all have their opinions. I'm not saying they are here to create a conspiracy. I'm saying everyone has an opinion. And if you don't want to be part of that opinion and create confusion and conflict in your mind, detach from it. Because my question is, how is it serving you to improve who you are and move away from the frequency of fear, of unhappiness, of overinformation? I leave that question with you. Remember, you have a choice, just like when you go for a buffet. You choose the foods you want. If you overeat, you know exactly what happens. In the same way, your thoughts are options. Your emotions are options. Information is options. You get to decide what you want to put in and what you don't want to put in. Another laughable example. If someone come and chuck garbage on you, what would you do? You would either run, you would either dodge it, or if you're too slow and complacent, it'll come on you and then you'll go wash up. In the same way, if someone is giving you information that doesn't serve you, why then would you want to keep it in the most important part of your being, your brain and your body? You don't need it. So make that choice and take charge of owning yourself. Take in what you want and let go of things you don't want. For example, there's so much information now about the current time, might be a conspiracy, it might be real, it might be overreaction, whatever it may be. How does all these different thought processes and fears serve you? It doesn't. It only serves you in one way, to create more confusion and more conflict. So if you want to be well, if you want to be healthy and happy, stay in the now. And the now at this point is my voice, and you're learning of my voice. Nothing else. Keep yourself busy in the now. Focus on who you are. Focus on things that you don't like about yourself. Let go of those patterns. Bring in the patterns you want. Create your own self, not from somebody else's research on 1% of the population asking you to eat a certain way, asking you to think a certain way. Like I keep saying, even the information I'm sharing with you now will be obsolete in the next 20 days because we will learn so much more. We will dive in deep into no boundaries. We'll dive in deep into understanding our own selves through what we are doing. I hope you are going to understand the depth that we are going to. Right now, like I say, we are on the surface. And as we go deeper, there'll be less explanations and more doing. So get yourself ready for that. It's going to be really exciting. Let's look at another topic for today. Be hungry, not greedy. I'm a firm believer of intention, action, manifestation. But I'm also a firm believer that when you're in the zone, you don't need to ask for anything. It just comes to you. It becomes a part of your being. And that's why MMM, move, meditate, massage, is probably the most important ritual I can ask you to do. Move, meditate, massage. Move, meditate, massage. Make it a part of your being. Mantra it. Remember, being hungry for what you want is very important. But in that hunger, it's important not to get stuck into desperation. It's like trying to catch sand in your hand. The more you squeeze it, the more it runs away. And this is a law of the universe. When you ask for something, ask for it and continue your penance or your practice. If you get stuck in the asking, that's the frequency you're stuck in. That will drain you, that will make you feel desperate and lose confidence in yourself. If you were a hunter and if you were hungry, let's look at this as a story. You knew how to manage your hunger and not lose focus on the process. You would be a successful hunter. But if you were at the mercy of hunger and the hunger got to you, your awareness would be incomplete and you would make mistakes, thus leading to an unsuccessful hunt. Same way, be hungry for what you want, chalk out the strategy, work towards it, work on the process, and own the process. It's like shooting a bow and arrow. You're aware of all that happens and your focus is still on the target. You're aware of your breath. You slow it down. You manage your heart rate and then you let go. And at that point of letting go, of release, wind, distance fall into place. This is where your intuition, skill, and practice comes in. Same way, be hungry, chalk it out, and then fire away. Control what you can and let go of what you can't. Trust in yourself. And trust that that process is accurate. Let me share a mythical story from an Indian traditional text. I'm going to read this out to you. In the Mahabharata, Ekalavya was adopted son of Hiranyadhinu, who in some accounts was King Arasanda's army commander, and in others, the tribal chieftain of the Nishadas. So basically, there was an adopted son who was the king's son, and there was an army commander and the tribal chieftain of the Nishadas. Ekvalya, the star that we are talking about, wanted to become a disciple of Dronacharya, the guru of all gurus. But that guru rejected him. Not to be discouraged, the star, Ekvalya, made a statue of the famed teacher Mr. Dronacharya, the gurus of all gurus. From mud that the guru used to walk upon. And the superstar Ekvalya used to worship this mud statue. He then began a disciplined program of self-study over many years. And it is true, even though this is mythology, that we can connect with gurus or masters and bring in their consciousness, because essentially they are part of the cosmos anyway. Coming back to the story, one day when Dronacharya, the gurus of all gurus, his students were out in the forest, Arjuna, who was a prince or prince's son, saw a dog that was unable to bark due to a construction of arrows in and all around his mouth. The construction was contrived in such a way that the dog could not bark, yet it did not harm the animal. The gurus of all gurus, Drona, who was out with Arjuna, the prince, and other students, was amazed and wished to meet the archer who had accomplished such an extraordinary feat. When Ekvalya, the superstar that we are talking about, appeared, the gurus of gurus, Drona, asked him who his guru was. Ekvalya, the superstar, replied, saying that Drona himself was his guru, and explained that he had built a mud statue from the mud that this guru used to walk on. Arjuna, the prince, who was supposed to be #1 archer, confronted his guru for breaking his promise to make Arjuna the greatest archer in the world. So Arjuna, the prince, was promised by the guru of all gurus that he will make him the best archer in the world. In order to remedy the situation, the gurus of all gurus asked for the right thumb of Ekvalya, the superstar, as his fee, or the guru dakshina, or donation generally paid to a master or a guru or a priest. Ekvalya, without thinking, severed his thumb and offered it to Drona as asked, while being aware that by doing so he would lose his prowess as an archer. Remember, the thumb is the most important part for the archer. In spite of the loss of the right thumb, he was still noted as a very powerful archer and warrior. In short, he let go of his excuses and he kept focusing on his journey or his goal. This, my friends, is a very important story. If you're hungry, you will get to where you want to go with sincerity, with dedication, and with discipline. But if you're greedy, not only will you ask for people's thumbs to be severed, but you will move into the frequency of darkness and the frequency of not serving you. It's important to understand what is right for you and what is not right for you. But it is also important to understand how to connect with the frequency of health and happiness, of purity, of the vibrations of Om, the vibration of what serves you and what serves the universe, not out of selfishness, but out of collective consciousness of a community and of us living together and working with each other to improve each other's health and wellness.